Hi everyone, thank you so much for welcoming me into your space today. I'm really glad you guys took the time out to allow me to share some knowledge with you about the Loreal line of products. I'm really excited to see how you guys like them. My name is Kelly Noonan. I'm a colorist and a balayage specialist. I've been working behind the chair for 10 years, specializing in balayage, and I'm really excited to get to do a balayage demo for you today, and hopefully we can share some knowledge. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information about what we're going to be looking at today, but first I have a question. How many of you got into this industry because you consider yourself a creative person? I know I did, for sure. And then the follow-up question is, how many of you feel not so creative sometimes? Like you get stuck in a little bit of a rut. Maybe it's that same root retouch, that same partial foil, and you feel like, okay, I'm a machine. Where did that creativity go? I know, I felt like that plenty of times. So what I hope to achieve today is when I show you the vast array of products that Loreal has to offer, that it really does have that versatility that expands your creativity. It really creates almost an art studio out of your dispensary so that you really can always feel that spark of creativity. That's what got you into this industry in the first place. Okay, so let me just touch base, give you an overview of how we're going to do that today. We're going to feature a couple of products that's really just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what Loreal has to offer, but these are my personal favorites. And for a balayage application, really the best in the biz. So the first is Metal Detox, which is an amazing product that's going to remove metals, prevent breakage, and guarantee a 100% consistent color results with 87% less breakage. Can't wait to show it to you guys. Then we're gonna go and feature the balayage application with the Blond Studio 7, which is a phenomenal clay lightener, 7 levels of lift, 19% clay, and it has a super smooth, creamy, stretchy texture that's perfect for a balayage. And finally, I'm going to feature the Delight glosses, which are an acid-based gloss, 49 shades. Really seals off that cuticle, and like I said, with 49 shades, we're talking creativity out the wazoo. So, and a little secret product that I'm going to show you at the end that will expand the versatility of an already really versatile line of glosses. So, without further ado, let's get started into the demo portion. Okay, so the first step of our demo today is one of my favorite products, Metal Detox Pre-Treatment. And so what this does is, for any client that has metal deposits in their hair from hard water, pools, chlorine, what have you, this is essentially encapsulating those metals to protect them from any chemical reactions that can happen during the chemical service, which is, believe it or not, the main cause of breakage during the color service. So what this is going to give you is 87% less damage and 100% consistency of color result. So if you have that client that their highlights seem to disappear, their color always goes brassy, you can never really predict how the color is going to take. Most of the time that's because of metal deposits and mineral deposits. And the best part about this is it just sprays on before your color service, let it dry for 5 minutes while you're mixing, and then you're ready to go. Other mineral removers, you have to let them sit under a heater, wash and dry it, then begin your color service. So it's a big time saver behind the chair. We're gonna let this dry and I'm gonna go mix up our clay lightener that I can't wait to show you. Okay, so the first step to a perfect balayage application is, before we even do anything, is analyzing the hair. And there's 3 main features that we should be looking at, and that's the texture, the density, and the shape. And that is going to inform how we size our sections and the size of the pieces that we want to place. So So instead of going in with a pattern, you do half-inch, quarter-inch sections or something along those lines. You want to think about how dense is the hair, how fine or coarse is the hair, and that's going to tell you how to space everything in terms of placement. Now, our lovely model here has very, very fine hair and very, very dense. So she has extremely fine, extremely dense hair. So what that tells me is I'm probably going to use bigger pieces and space them a little bit closer apart in the section. If we can see the previous section underneath, that's what we want. Otherwise, if we do tiny pieces and we space them too far apart, they might get lost. And then we just wasted all of our time, so we don't want that. And when you take the time to really analyze the hair before you go in and start, think about it in a three-dimensional way, considering all those factors, it really gives you creative freedom to create the look you want. And now, for any of you that have done any balayage applications before or might be confused, sometimes you see teasing, sometimes you see painting, and everybody calls everything balayage. For a traditional balayage, the main difference between a traditional balayage and a foil application is the saturation of the hair. So with a foil, as you know, you're saturating that entire section, everything that's in the foil you want completely saturated. Whereas with a balayage, traditional balayage application, what you want is that lightener to float. It needs to just glide just on the top layer. We don't want anything slipping through. We don't want anything underneath here getting any lightener on it. So that's the main point of difference. And the way that we accomplish that is by tension and elevation. So as you're painting, you want to be very mindful of maintaining that tension throughout the entire application. And when you have proper tension, this lightener just glides on, floating like a lily pad, right on that top layer without bleeding through to the other side. I like to choke up a little bit on hair like that's this long, and then as I come down, I slide my fingers down. That way I can maintain the tension throughout the application. You got to see how smoothly that beautiful clay lightener got to glide onto the hair. I'm going to tell you a little bit more details about it. It is an ammonia-free lightener with 19% clay that gives you 7 levels of lift. Now, if you've ever used clay lighteners in the past, I know I was never really a big fan of them. I always found them to be pretty dusty. I never really got the lift that I was looking for. Maybe they said it was 5 levels of lift, but I really only got 2 or 3 levels. So to be honest, in all of my experience doing balayage, I rarely use clay lighteners. But this one, because it has this beautiful, beautiful stretchy texture, as you can see here, it gives you the ability to just glide on with very, very precise detailing. And because it stays wet, you really get those full 7 levels of lift. Another thing that I love about this lightener is that I've never gotten dust when I use it. So you don't get that dustiness, and you get the strength of 7 levels of lift, but you get the gentleness of an ammonia-free product. So now that I've tried this lightener, I'm never going back. It's the only thing I use. Going back to those first 3 things that we're looking at in the beginning, density, as you can see, when I take that section, I want to make sure I can see those previous highlights through. And something to bear in mind is that the density is going to change throughout her head. So maybe in the back of her head and lower down, you're going to have more density. Near the front, maybe finer density. Some people have very sparse hair up here and then very dense underneath, so it's something to keep in mind. This is why it's good and fun sometimes to just use your eye and your analysis of the hair rather than going by a specific pattern. Now this lightener, we mixed 1 to 1.5, but you can do 1 to 2 as well. I like to keep my lightener a little bit on the thicker side because if it's too thin, it has more of a chance to slide down to the next layer. The other things that I absolutely love about this clay lightener is that it really stays exactly where you put it. So if you've ever done balayage or a foil and you've had a lot of swelling, you've got little warm patches, you've got those bead marks, I have never had that happen with this lightener because that clay encapsulates, keeps it wet, keeps it lifting for that full 50 minutes, and it stays exactly where you put it, so you're never worried about bleed marks, swelling, spotting, or things like that. Wrap up this section here. And then we'll finish up with gel and skip ahead and meet back when it's time to gloss. As I finish up this last section for you guys, I hope you can see here the size of the pieces that I painted, and it ties in directly with the density of her hair. Because larger pieces are really going to pop on someone with fine hair with a lot of density. Someone with fine hair and no density, you might want to take smaller pieces, otherwise you'll lose all the contrast. Contrast is one of the best things about doing balayage. It's very easy to keep that contrast and still get a nice pop. And believe it or not, with this lightener, you really do get that pop. And it is designed to be used with any level of developer from 12.5 to 40. And today, I'm using 40. So you can really see how much lift we can get. From this beautiful clay light. And because it's ammonia-free and gentle, you don't have to worry about using a higher developer because it's still going to be healthy. The combination of this lightener plus the metal detox really is maintaining the health of the hair so you can go a little bit brighter. See a little better here. Now that I have that angle, you can see the size of the pieces. We're still getting depth at the root because, as you can see, our client has not done her hair in a while, so she's very low maintenance. The more depth we leave at the root, the less maintenance it's going to be for her. We still want some big funnel so she gets that pop. Best of both worlds. So I just showed you, see the placement there. We did our first quarter of the head, and then I will fast forward to the glossing portion, and then we'll see the finished result. So we'll be using equal parts clear 9N and 1032 with 6 volume today for our gloss. This is our secret weapon product that gives us so much versatility when we're doing our glosses. This is the Delight Liquefier. So what this does is it changes the consistency of the gloss. So as you can see, I don't know if you can see if the lighting is, it's very thick, which is perfect for root taps. It stays exactly where you put it. You get a lot of control with this consistency. But if you're somebody who glosses with a squeeze bottle or something like that and you wanted a more liquidy consistency, this liquefier is what will create a completely different texture. So you can use your squeeze bottles, whatever. Sometimes I'll throw this in just if someone has very thick, dense hair, and you can see it gives you that nice creamy consistency that's easy to work through the hair. So it just is another tool that gives us so much versatility to be creative. So the Delight glosses are an acid-based, ammonia-free, nourishing gloss. And it comes in 49 unique shades, which gives us the maximum amount of creativity. And so the great thing about it being acid-based is it's closing off that cuticle as it's nourishing, so it's giving you maximum amount of shine. And the texture feels a lot smoother too, so it's almost a treatment and a gloss in one. Now the processing time is between 2 to 20 minutes. Today we used 6 volume, which is going to give you a slower deposit. If you use the 9 volume developer, that's going to give you a faster deposit. So just keep that in mind when you're timing things. This will process very quickly, so I would not recommend walking away from this gloss in the sink. And now we're going to wash with the Metal Detox shampoo and mask, and we'll take some after photos to show you the final result. Okay, thank you everyone for going on that journey with me. It was pretty fun, right? We got to see some really cool new things, hopefully learn some things. I just want to go over some key points to take home with you. We started off with that Metal Detox to protect the hair from damage, 87% less breakage, 100% color consistency, to really give the perfect palette to create what we want to create. We went in there with that Blond Studio 7, the ammonia-free lightener, with that perfect stretch to give us a smooth, clean balayage application and create a lot of lift without a lot of damage. And then we went in with our mad scientist creative blending of glosses together, from the tones to the consistency. We got a little bit creative with that one, to the overall end result of really healthy, beautiful hair that's going to have a lot of longevity, and we got to be creative while we were doing it. So if there's any questions, please feel free to ask me. And as I mentioned, this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what Loreal has to offer. So the more you see of the entire line, the more you're really gonna feel like that dispensary has turned into an art studio, and you really get those creative juices flowing and keep them flowing. And again, if there's any questions, feel free to ask. And in the meantime, stay creative.